Jumbo is nice, but it's nothing compared to what we have in the U.S. It's a very interesting place with a lot of history, like a dead animal in your mouth.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's fucking nasty. Make decent money because they pay pretty well.
Yeah.
And enjoy quality of life. Do normal culture.
Yeah, no, that's definitely an aspect I love about living here.
Like Stampot. But these are different types of people from all walks of life.
All right, today I got my boy Vince on.
What's up?
Vince has been here in the Netherlands now for
A year and a half?
A year and a half now?
A year and a half.
I thought it was 2 years.
I got
Oh,
here
yeah.
October 2020.
Okay.
October 2020, I think.
Well, obviously we talked about already. Today we're
Yeah.
going to discuss what are the top 3 pros and cons of living here in the Netherlands. Really
Yeah,
curious
yeah,
to hear
yeah.
your experience. You lived in quite a few places already in your life.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you've had the perspective of seeing different countries, different places. So really curious to hear your perspective of the Netherlands. Do you want to start with the pros or the cons?
Yeah, maybe I'll give a quick background as to where I lived. You know, I'm from the U.S. I was born and raised there, went to university there. During university, I lived in a few different places. In Guatemala for a few months, quote unquote lived. Spain, I studied abroad there. I lived in Mexico City for work, and I lived in South Sudan for 6 months with the nonprofit. And now I'm living here. So I think that's 5 or 6 places. I lose track sometimes.
Wow.
I'm here now, and I really am enjoying it. I mean, the's a lot of pros and cons.
Yeah, let's get straight into it. What's the first con?
I mean, I grew up in the U.S. on the East Coast, close to New York City, so we have probably the best food in the country, so we think. My dad's from Italy, my mom's from Colombia, so a lot of homemade foods, a lot of fresh foods. So moving here where, the supermarkets are not good at all. Jumbo is nice, but it's nothing compared to what we have in the U.S., even like on the lower scale of supermarkets, right?
Our
where they're
supermarkets are
basically
so
like,
large, man. It's insane.
Malls.
It's a mall, exactly.
It's a mall,
It's a mall.
it's like a fucking 18 hall movie theater, where you can find food from everywhere and maybe a little more chemicals and a little less safe for you, but it's still better.
Yeah.
So yeah, the food hasn't been too good. I mean, I have eaten a lot of good food, and I have eaten a lot of nice Dutch food. I do like Dutch food because it's kind of bland, like Stampot. Stampot is basically mashed potatoes mashed with kale or something else, and a wurst, a sausage.
Yeah. But overall, the
cuisine's not that good. You know, the Dutch love sweets, and they love these really nasty drop or salmiak balls that just taste like a dead animal in your mouth.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's fucking nasty. But they go crazy over it. But it's cool, you know, everybody has their own palate, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the food is a lot less. Like, we're used to being in the U.S.
Massive
We
portions.
order a quesadilla or something, and we get like enough to fill you up. Here, you have to order 2 different rounds.
Yeah, we
and
just
it's
had that
expensive.
experience
Yeah,
today.
he just had ordered a tuna melt, and he had to order 2. And then we had to have fries on top of that. Not all food's bad, right? I mean, it's an international country. You know, you can get really good Middle Eastern food. You can get really good Indonesian, Surinamese. I never knew what Surinamese food was until I came here.
No, yeah, same
It's
here.
fucking banging. It's really
it's really good.
But all in all, I'd say it's easier and cheaper to eat really well in the U.S. or in other parts of the world than it is here.
Okay, so what's another con?
The weather.
Yeah.
The weather's horrible.
That's a popular one.
It's horrible. I mean, last year at least in 2021, the summer was so bad. My friends came to visit in August, right? Supposedly the hottest month of the year. And they're like, what the fuck are you doing here, man? Go back home. It was like 65 degrees or 60 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
Raining every single day and windy, right? And they're like, it's August. It's supposed to be the nicest month of the year. I'm like, I know. And the whole year's been like this. It was barely sunny last year. So the weather's really bad, but we're really lucky this year. I mean, it's been sunny for like the past 2 months.
There's been quite a bit of sun. I've been
And
surprised
so then
for sure.
it's pretty cool, because then on the flip side, whenever it's sunny, everybody goes nuts.
Mhm.
Everybody's outside, the parks are filled, there's music, there's like this energy in the streets that's just unmatched, I think. So there's a con, but also a pro to it, you know what I mean? Where it's just like, you really appreciate the warm weather. And when it's out, nobody wants to be inside. Everybody in the office is like, all right, we got to get the hell out of here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. All right, so what's the third con that you would mention?
I guess the third con would have to be, and I don't mean to be offensive to anybody, I really love the Dutch people, but would be the people. You know, everybody says that the Dutch are direct, and that's fine, right? But I think it's more the judgmental aspect of the Dutch people, and maybe it's rooted in their culture. They have this whole do normal culture, basically making sure everybody's following the status quo and the norms. It's basically like fall in line with what everybody's doing. And so basically it's a little judgmental, right? Where everybody's like, everybody has these preconceived notions or prejudices about the US, so to speak. So when you say you're from the US, then they automatically assume it's like a war zone where people are dying on the side of the street because they can't get into a hospital. And it's not necessarily like that. You know what I'm saying? But that's the judgment that they have based on, don't move to the US, you're gonna die there on the street. They're like, oh, well, this and that. But then again, the Netherlands kind of is very similar in terms of what's going on, right? In the US, we had a lot of craziness with COVID and whatnot, but they were judging the US a lot. But then in the Netherlands, they also had bombings of COVID testing sites. Do you know what I'm saying?
That's true,
So then, you can judge us, but also look at yourselves, right?
Yeah.
So that's that kind of judgmental aspect of the Dutch, which is also good because they need to criticize things, and that's why everything works so well. But at the same time, it could lead to some hypocritical behaviors, if that makes any sense. Not to be too negative, but that's basically that.
Yeah, okay, makes sense. All right, so we got your top 3 cons. Now let's move on to the pros. What's pro number 1?
Pro number 1, I guess, would be people. I mean, I spoke about a con being a negative aspect of Dutch people, but the people in general in the country, the people I've been meeting, they're very different than who I would have met if I would have stayed in the US or stayed where I grew up with my group of friends who I love dearly.
Yeah.
But these are different types of people from all walks of life. Dutch people, foreigners, other Americans that think differently than the ones I'm used to, refugees, etc., right? So really putting yourself out there into different situations where you're going to meet these interesting people and always kind of saying yes to opportunities, right? Like I bought a cabinet or something from like Marktplaats, which is like the Facebook marketplace that we have here in the Netherlands. I ended up making friends with the guy's friends that sold me the thing, and I go to concerts with them and I hang out with them.
Wow.
And they're really cool people. Or meeting friends, like you. And then from you meeting Aubrey and then meeting Aubrey's friends, etc., right? People, it's just really cool to be in a place where
it's a lot of diverse set of
it's
people.
It's very diverse, right? There's a lot of expats, there's a lot of foreigners, there's a lot of refugees, a lot of different people that you wouldn't necessarily meet in the US. And you're forced to be put in a situation where you're actually interacting with them and trying to establish relationships. So I think it's really cool to be in a situation like this where you can meet all types of people that I probably would have never met in the US and learn from them. Next pro would be being able to travel, being able to go from one town to the next so close. Like I just went from Schiedam to Dordrecht, which is a 20-minute train ride. And you're in a completely different environment, different vibe, different way of talking, different foods, different culture, different type of people. You can spend a day here and entertain yourself or be with a group of friends, right? Where in the US, you go 20 minutes, you can go an hour, 2 hours away, and it's
not that much of a difference.
It's the same, right? Unless you're in like a big city like New York City, then you just go from the city to the suburbs. And that's it. All the suburbs are the same. Here, there's a little more diversity, so you can travel in the country, see cool things on the weekends, or you can travel outside the country, cheap flights everywhere, and you can be in a different environment, different language, etc. So that's really cool.
Yeah, no, that's definitely an aspect I love about living here. Whenever you want to just an adventure, to go see something new, see something different, it's very affordable to do so.
There's
very
cheap
quick.
flights. There's cheap flights. You can go try new foods. You can go on a weekend trip with almost strangers you've never met before, friends of friends, and then you end up after 2 days being best friends with these people, right? And having all these laughs and inside jokes and just having a great weekend. Where in the US, maybe it's the people or that I was around or the lifestyle I was living, I wasn't really doing that. Right, so that could be over there too, but it's just a little more difficult because the distances are so far spread.
And that's the crazy thing about like living in a European country where, you have all these small countries but are very like close to each other. And so just in a matter of hours, you're like in a whole other world. Whereas in the US, we have like this huge country. But the diversity in terms of culture and experiences in those different places is not that that vast.
Kind of lose like the uniqueness of a place, right? It's all been like commercialized, corporate apartments and stuff like that. It's all the same, right? Except if you go from the north to the south to the west coast. Apart from that, it's all the same.
All right, let's finish with a bang, Vince. What's number 3 on your pros of living here in the Netherlands?
All right, I don't know if it's specific to living in the Netherlands, but maybe it's a product of living in the Netherlands, being how the Netherlands is I think it's a lot more laid back than the US, is more just like stepping away from the career mindset of like, okay, I need to be this and then that, and then every year or every 2 years I need to get this and that promotion,
Yeah.
and then I need to just work
Yeah.
to make money, to do this, to do that. Because in the US, especially in the New York area, it's all just like, what do you do and do it and succeed, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
Where here, I think like the Dutch especially, they figure out a way. I think I've seen it, probably the best place in the world actually, to try to balance work and personal life. So like
Yeah.
at the office I work at, nobody's working past the amount of time they need to work. If you ask them to do something extra, they'll be like, no. Yeah, I feel like quality of life here is a lot higher.
I agree.
Yeah, it's just somewhere where you could feel a little more comfortable. Try to just relax at a point in your life and enjoy it as much as possible, right? They like to just drink beer. You're not rushed to get out of the table ever,
Yeah.
right? We're drinking beers here, just one beer. We could stay here for hours.
Yeah. In the U.S., it's really like, all right,
Yeah,
eat your
get the fuck
food
outta
and
here,
go.
man. You're just gonna order a beer and
Yeah,
that's it. Okay,
here's
get out.
this- yeah.
Right? Yeah, there's a lot of things about the culture here in terms of allowing you to step away from your professional career as the only part of your life that matters.
Yeah, because we as Americans, we see a lot of our identity in our jobs. You know what I mean? Like what we're doing
Yeah,
for work.
especially, yeah.
That's like, as you said earlier, like one of the first things people ask you is, oh, what do you do?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, I'm more than my work. Like,
Yeah, here they place a lot more emphasis on what makes you happy. You should do that.
Yeah.
So I really like that about the Dutch people. They really push you for that, and they really like the small details of life.
Now, all right, so we've gone through 3 cons and we've gone through 3 pros. Overall, with all things weighted, would you recommend it somebody to move to the Netherlands, or do you find this as a great place to live overall? What's your opinion
Quality
on
of
that?
life. Quality of life is very high here, and everything's pretty safe and functions the way it should. They're very good on compared to the U.S. They care about the environment, they care about society, care more about others than the U.S. where it's just like me, what's good for me and my family. Fuck everybody else, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of the U.S. mentality. Where here, maybe it's a little bit better than that.
Okay.
Maybe it's not to the extent that potentially Germany does, where it's like we have a safety net for all. But I would definitely recommend somebody to live here who wants to make decent money, because they pay pretty well, and enjoy quality of life.
Yeah.
Weather-wise, if you're looking for like fun, nice people that are crazy, welcoming, it's not the place. It's nice to have a career and experience it and understand what you should borrow things from to then apply it to your next place that you live if you don't end up staying here, right? Trying to focus on yourself, your family, your friends, and not really, work is just work.
Yeah.
And you don't need to always step up. If you're happy and you're making a decent wage, money doesn't really matter. And I feel like the Dutch, as money focused as they are as a country, because they're able to somehow step away from that and enjoy life a bit more than we do in the US.
I agree. Yeah, I think when you factor all facets of life, the Netherlands is like up there in terms of places to live, especially like compared to other European countries. Like, is the weather as good as Spain and Portugal? No.
People as happy or friendly as the Brazilians or Colombians? No way. In hell.
Yeah. When you factor, but once again, as you said earlier, like the wages though, quite high compared to these other places.
The people are direct, you know what you get out of them, and they're very transparent.
The structure and everything, like everything just usually just works here. It's very clean.
It's a very interesting place with a lot of history, its own culture that's quite strong. So I said a lot of negative things about the Dutch, but they're not bad people. They're very transparent, so you know what you get out of them, and if they like you and you like them, you're gonna know right away, and then they're gonna be your friend, and it'll be nice.
Cool.
It's just a little hard to break that barrier in the beginning.
Yeah, I hear
But
you.
I think we're trying to learn Dutch, and they realize that, and then it's easy to joke around, and you have a lot of laughs with random people all over the place, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
a lot of small talk.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you
coming
on and sharing your perspective of the pros and cons of living here. I definitely feel like I got some out of it in terms of comparing my opinions and my views compared to how you're experiencing it. I feel like we have a lot of alignment. How we see it, perhaps because we're both Americans, so we have similar backgrounds. But yeah, as you said, I think overall this is definitely a great place to live. And for anyone considering moving to the Netherlands, definitely welcome you. Feel free to hit us up if you have any questions.
Yeah,
or
for sure.
Who knows what future places you'll be living in, because like you said, you got quite the list.
Yeah, I mean,
places
you
you
never
visit.
know. Family is a big factor, right? So
Yeah.
depending on how rooted somebody's with their family or nieces and nephews or whatever, that might always be a factor of where you end up, right?
Yeah.
So up to when is enough to then be like, okay, I'm going to choose a spot, whether it's abroad or a home,
Yeah.
and then say, okay, I've done what I had to do, and I'm going to stay there. Or some people like to just always be on the move. I've
Yeah.
met both types of people, right?
Yeah.
Still trying to figure that out myself, but
For now, we're here.
I'm here.
Yeah. Cool, man. Thank you.